Hello and welcome to Let's Collaborate, a podcast from the Southwest Doctoral Training Partnership. I'm your host, Chris Garrington, and joining me for this episode, recorded at the Collaboration and Connectivity Conference, is Mónica Sanchez, who's researching the idea of manhood for men who've been accused of domestic violence. And she's based at the University of Bristol. So, Mónica, thank you so much for joining us today. And I wonder if you can start by telling us a bit about your research.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, I am trying to understand what are the meanings of being a man. So, pretty much in academia, that is kind of has been theorized as masculinities or men studies. So, I want to kind of understand what is behind and if there is kind of a link between domestic violence, specifically against a partner, and like the understandings of manhood. Like I think probably more in like day-to-day vocabulary, like there's been a lot of discussion about toxic masculinity or machismo, and that this is pretty much like in simple terms what I am researching about. At the moment, I just finished a pilot study, and that was just conducted in Mexico. I'm also kind of researching in a more rural kind of area, like, and also like with some kind of decolonizing research methods.
Okay, talking of methods, I'm interested to know how you're going about it. Obviously, you talk about Mexico there. Does that mean trips out to Mexico to do field work? And what's your approach to the whole thing?
Yeah, specifically, for social research, it's very common to kind of do field work. So I just came back from field work last summer. And because I think, and actually I just presented about it, like I am very critical sometimes about the research methods we use in academic research, because sometimes they look as they were extractivist. So I tried to propose a new kind of way of researching using art base, and I kind of ended up coining a term that is gendabikot, and that is supposed to kind of like be able to address like more indigenous practices, and also at the same time allow time for participants to do their reflections and to kind of peer learning, but at their own pace, to disclose the information they want to do, because at the end of the day, they had been accused of something, and I do not want to kind of build on those stereotypes. I want to understand what the perception is, like in an empathetic way. So yeah, that is pretty much what I end up doing. Like this kind of gendabikot is like an art-based research methods.
Sounds really interesting. So you're sort of impacting the way we go about research, as well as looking at this really important issue around manhood and domestic violence and what all that means in different contexts. It's absolutely fascinating. So I wonder what new insights you think your PhD will bring to these topics, and how you hope, I guess, those insights might benefit people in the long term. I'm guessing there might be a long-term ambition of helping men understand themselves better and what drives them. But you tell me, what is it that you're hoping to learn, and how might it help us?
To start with, perhaps like the most evident outcome would be like to inform practitioners, because I work together with a local gatekeeper, and probably they were interested to see whether the program, because they have like a reeducative program, was working or not, and what are the things that they need to tackle. Very often, most of the reeducative programs and all of the policy is done with evidence from the global north, or from Anglo-Saxon context, or Scandinavian, and contexts that do not match the reality of other places. So it is really important for me to kind of see what could be what are the different things, and what are the things that are very similar, because actually there's a lot of similarities. So I think it will inform practitioners to have research that was specifically done in that area, so they can kind of modify or not the practices. Also perhaps to convince authorities or any funders of the importance of looking at that issue, and especially of like focusing on perpetrators and not only on the victims of domestic violence, because one perpetrator can re-offend, and then you have a series of victims of domestic violence. So it is important to do something about to tackle violence against women. It is important also to pay attention to the perpetrator.
Yeah, very good ambition indeed. And I wonder, a PhD can feel a long and lonely road. I wonder if from what you've done so far, if there's any advice or any tips that you would give to someone who's thinking of embarking on a PhD, just as you have.
Yeah, I think I was giving this advice and I think it has remained with me. Like, you need to research something that is like something you're really passionate about, because there will be bad days with days like you don't want to read anything more, when like it is so complicated, when you're kind of thinking like, why am I doing this? Is this really going to help someone? Because sometimes it feels like you're just in front of the computer. So in those bad days, you will need that passion, and that passion can be like what will keep you going on. So you need to find something that really kind of makes you believe even in yourself, because there will be bad days.
Indeed, that's absolutely great. So thank you very much for joining us, Monica, and thanks for listening to this episode of Let's Collaborate from the Southwest Doctoral Training Partnership. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast to access earlier and new episodes.